Good morning. Somewhere in the world it is morning, no matter what time you're watching this. All right. Today I'm going to go over 3D titling. Final Cut Pro has a new 3D titling effect that you can use for titles. It's pretty neat. Motion is also involved with this as well, so you can do 3D titling in motion. It's pretty interesting. I'm getting a kick out of this. Basically, if you go to your 3D title templates, you go to your titles, go to 3D title templates. You can see there are several different templates. There's a custom 3D, a basic 3D, a fade 3D. These mostly have certain parameters that they follow. Rotate was one of my favorites. I used it fairly recently. You have scale, spacing, tumble. This one's pretty neat. I kind of get a kick out of that. Let's throw in tumble. And we're going to type cookie pizza. Cookie pizza. Okay. Since the latest update, all of our title information has been shoved into this advanced, so you might want to go into advanced and play with it a little bit. I can bring my baseline up and my line spacing down, so I can put cookie pizza right there. And if I go to the title menu, I can make it so there's no build-in, obviously. And I can make it so there's no build-out. But while there is a build-in and build-out, we can do different forms of how we want everything to come together. You can see these parameters will change things a little bit. Let's try constant. Okay. It just kind of helps with the way they come in, the way they go out. I generally use decelerate on the in and accelerate on the out. Kind of makes it smooth. You can adjust the retiming. See how it's kind of a little off right now? So if I retime the in, it will make it come in faster. And you can adjust your retiming quite a bit. This says up to 175. See how fast that was? You can't even see it. Let's render it. Okay, now let's try it. A little fast. Actually, let's go 75, and we will re-render that and see what it looks like. You can see how it's much slower. You can change the fade duration in to 10 frames. Now remember, these are set parameters with this particular Tumble 3D. Tumble zoom up. You can also assemble and disassemble. Let's render that so we can see it better. So part of it comes up, part of it goes down. And you can do none, which turns it off. Kind of boring. All right, in the text itself, you can change a lot of things. With the 3D text, you can change the depth. Might be better seen here. See how thick the letters can get? I'll give it a little more depth. The depth direction, what this does is it changes whether the depth extrudes from the front, whether it extrudes from the back, or whether it extrudes both front and back. Centered is front and back. They all kind of look pretty similar, but it adjusts the way it animates at the end. Width is the width of the face. Cookie pizza. The front edge. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let me find a letter that's real close. Okay, let's use this A right here. Okay, we can change the style of the front edge from a bevel to square, so it has no edge, to, where did it go? Concave. And you can see what it's doing, especially right here in this corner. You can see how it's shaping that. You can make it a square ring, a beveled ring, an outline, round ring. There's a double round. That one's kind of cool. Round edging. You can make the back edge the same as the front, or you can change it to a different edging style. Stick with bevel for a little bit. You can make the front edge size deeper. You can also do the parameters separately, X and Y. If you do the back with a different thing, right now it's bevel, but if we did something else, we can also change the back edge size. But if it's same as front, like right here, you can't really modify it. Inside corners, you can make them round. You can make them miter, 45-degree angles, or you can make them straight. Lighting. The lighting and the material will play with each other a lot. Lighting, you have where the light for the object, from where the light for the object is coming. You can see how, as I modify these, you can see what the difference is with the lights. The intensity makes a huge difference. There is a typical ambient light, but the intensity will make a big difference. You can have them cast shadows on themselves or on other pieces. Let's make the light come from diagonal left, and you can see shadows in here. You can also make the shadows softer if you want. Change the opacity of the shadows. Crash your Final Cut Pro X at any time you want. Environment is kind of fun. This has to do with the lighting as well. Right now I have a field. Let me bring it here and you can see it a little better. Okay. You see kind of silvery, but there's a little bit of a bluish tint to it, and that's because of the graphic that I'm using, which is field. I can change it to a parking lot. And as I rotate it, you sometimes can kind of see the parking lot in there. It's basically a giant 360-degree panoramic image. Here's the rooftop. Let's make this huge. That's a big cookie pizza. And if I go back here, let's change it to Lightbox. As I rotate it, you can kind of see the lights in the Lightbox. All right, material plays a lot in this too. Well, let's mess with the contrast. You can see what that does, and the saturation has to do with the coloring of the colors in there. Okay, let's mess with this. Let's make it metal chrome. And with chrome, you'll be able to see fully what these things look like. Let's change this to field. You can kind of see the field in there. See that? It's pretty neat. Here's a parking lot. Okay. And then saturation, see how vivid it makes it. So as you do negative saturation, you get a difference map. And if you do positive saturation, you can see it makes it really saturated with color. Okay, materials. You have a choice with single materials and multiple materials. I'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to go over the material types. You have several different material types here. You have concrete, fabric, grunge, metal, miscellaneous, which is like golf ball and ice block, and that one's pretty cool. Paint, paper, plastic, plaster, stone, wood. And you can play with them and use all kinds of different goofy things with them. But if you do a basic, you have some options down here. Actually, any of them. You have some options down here that affect the style of the material. So for example, if we go to metal and do chrome, we can see the different types of mapping for that material. We can also do the shininess. The shininess affects the resolution of the reflection, or the blurriness of the reflection. And then you have a thickness as well. And this kind of affects, if it's not as shiny, the thickness will affect reflections versus, not reflections, but highlights versus the base. Let's go to Chrome. There's my parking lot. Check this out. You can scan through that parking lot. Isn't that cool? And you can get different ones. That looks like a Lexus commercial. Pretty. All right, let's mess with it and do basic. And let's say that the material is aluminum metal. Really shiny aluminum. Actually, let's do plastic. It's a shiny plastic. And you can mess with the colors of the plastic. Just different things. And then you have your other things, your glow and your drop shadows that you can play with. So even 3D text can make a shadow. The only problem with the shadow is that because it's not real 3D, your shadow on these ones that are really close to you is the same distance as the ones that are far away. Okay, you also have a new 3D cinematic category, and basically what this is, it's still the same 3D, but it has kind of different parameters, kind of make it a little more cinematic feel. So they're kind of fun to play with. It's cookie pizza. Look at that. It's so shiny it reflects itself. Isn't that cool? That's the plastic material. All right, I encourage you to go ahead and play with it. It's fun to mess with. If you just go to 3D and do a basic 3D, you can have some pretty cool fun with this. Let's replace from start. Cookie pizza. And in the basic 3D, you have different types of animation styles that you can do rather than the typical tumble that we had before. Tumble and drop. Tumble, zoom down. So you can kind of do your own little thing here. All right, feel free to mess with these. They're a lot of fun. And as always, one cool thing I like about these is you can kind of rearrange where you want them to be without moving the background around. So, for example, let's say I want this. Let me bring in the let me bring up the line spacing. Actually, bring it down. Okay. If I go over to video, I can use the transform to move it around. All right, there we go. That's pretty much all I have for you for this one. It's a very simple, easy thing to do. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer them as best as I can, but it's pretty straightforward to deal with. All right, thank you very much for watching.